Welcome in once again to our little adventure here on JNL. One of the subjects I wanted to talk about today, and we're going to talk very informally, is the question I see most frequently when someone is researching whether or not they should homeschool their child. Now, a lot of times it is parents that are desperate to get a change because they have a child who is having problems in school, or they're having issues learning, or there's a special need for their child. And I have said in the past, I use Time for Learning. I'm not saying that is the number one program. I have only used Time for Learning. I don't know of the other programs. And if you are questioning whether you should homeschool, this is to answer whether you should or not, by my opinion. Take that with a grain of salt. I'm very new to homeschooling, and we're going to go from my perspective. I'm not recommending, I like Time for Learning a lot, but I also substitute in a lot of stuff that I feel that Time for Learning is missing for my fifth grader. But we're not here to talk about that. That will be for another episode. So the question I see most often that I have been answering in the Facebook groups for Time for Learning, the Facebook group for Time for Learning with special needs children, and the Facebook group for homeschoolers in my area. And I have answered this question a bunch of different ways because it's been asked a bunch of different ways. Is homeschooling right for my kid? And I think a lot of the problem with that is the parents, much like myself, struggle with, am I smart enough? Can I do this? Because when you have a special needs child, or a child who is having really hard struggles with public school, or hard struggles with socialization because they don't quite fit in, or just you're struggling because the school is having its own issues, because my school district personally is having all kinds of issues. We're having leadership issues. There's a lot of really huge major problems in my public school system. Now, my biggest fear was, could I do it? Am I smart enough? The answer is yes. And how I know that you're smart enough is because you can take the curriculum alongside your child, which is what I'm doing. I went to a very poor, I was poor growing up. I lived in the ghetto. I was the minority in my neighborhood. So our school district was not well funded. We did not have good extracurricular type classes to learn from. There was very minimal job training offered in my school. We did not, a lot of the funding in my school went to football and sports and stuff like that. So the music program got cut when I was very young. We had one computer teacher that taught computers and typing. And at some point they also had her teaching this other weird class that they kind of made up because they needed to have something extra. And it was kind of started off as it was supposed to be home economics, but they couldn't fill that role, so they changed it, and we ended up learning how to make videos with a camcorder. So that's my education. And while I did graduate high school, I do have high school credentials. I would not say that my education was top tier. I also myself am ADHD. And because of that, I struggled with my own things in school. And so a really big thing is, I don't know if I'm smart enough to do this. And another huge doubt that was in my mind was, can I do this? Because I work full-time from home. If you don't know, because most of you are here from my other channel, I have another channel. That channel sustains us financially. It helps, it pays some of the bills. It is a full-time job. I work full-time working on that channel and doing research for that channel and doing all the craft things that are related to that. So that's a full-time work from home job. It's a benefit because I'm home. But I also think if I worked full-time out of the home, I would still be able to manage this, because the actual learning is only a couple hours a day. And this is another thing I came across the other day, is a parent was saying she's a single parent and she's scared because she doesn't know if she's going to be able to do this. And it's kind of her only choice at this point. And I tried to reassure her that you absolutely can do this, even if you feel like you're not smart enough, because that's how I felt. Take the classes, sit down next to your child and take the classes with them, learn the work with them. The videos are there for you to watch. And you can rewind it. You can watch it on your own time. Like when you're in the bathroom, like throw on a video on your phone, watch it, learn what they're supposed to be learning ahead of time. Like when you're taking your lunch break at work, take time and learn what they're supposed to be learning so that you can assist. But a lot of these homeschool programs are good enough that they are teaching the kids without needing a lot of parental extras. And that has really benefited me personally, because I went through school and I could not, like, geometry was really, really easy to me. My brain could not grasp algebra. And so I was really scared, because this semester we're learning algebra. And I could not understand the very, very basic principles of algebra. And it had been I've had several people try to teach it to me. Several administrators, several teachers, like my little sister tried to teach it to me. My brain in high school could not wrap around algebraic concepts. So I sat down with my son and I'm like, I'm going to learn this with you. I'm taking 5th grade over again. I'm learning it along with him. And I'm grasping the concepts easier than I ever would, because it's showing you 3 or 4 different options of how we learn or how we teach this idea. And also, a major thing that is helpful, there are hundreds and thousands of videos on YouTube that you can Google the very specific thing you're struggling with to learn, or they're struggling with to learn, and watch the videos. That's something that was not available to me growing up, because YouTube did not exist in my time. And there are lots of ways that you can learn the subject you're trying to teach. My husband is interrupting, sorry. There are lots of different ways for you to learn the subjects that you're trying to help your child to learn. So that, I guess that would cover, am I smart enough? You don't have to be, because you can take the classes right along with him or her. And the other thing that I really struggled with was, before my son was diagnosed, and he is medicated for his ADHD, he has a very, very severe form of ADHD. There's a possibility he also has ODD mixed in with that. And there was a time there where I really struggled with the stress and with, my husband works out of the home full time. And so the stress of being the primary parent to a special needs child, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I was losing my mind trying to figure out how to handle him or how to fix him or try to deal with him, because I did not want to have to medicate him. I did not want to have to, like, there were so many internal struggles with that. And up until he got diagnosed at 5-6 years old, I really, really, really struggled being just a parent, let alone I could not imagine trying to teach him at that point. It was too difficult. And once we got his diagnosis and we started to learn more about why him and I both function this way, because I did not know I was ADHD until I had him diagnosed, and then we've been down this long road of learning and finding things out and exploring. And I had a behavioral specialist at the school actually explain some things to me on how he works and how to manage certain behaviors with him, which unlocked a door that had been closed and I could not figure out how to get into it with him. And it really helped me to be able to manage him. Now he's almost 11. He's 10 and a half years old. And at this point, we have figured a lot of things along the way, but last year, fourth grade was his last year in public schools, and he went kindergarten through 4th grade, and it had been difficult the whole time. There was one year, it was his 3rd grade year, he had a teacher who was a miracle. he stepped in, and he was a first-year teacher, but he had a background in child psychology, and he worked with a lot of autistic and ADHD kids in his practice, and he decided to become a teacher, and he knew exactly how to deal with my son. And that was the best year we ever had in school, in the public school system. But when fourth grade came around, and it was another new teacher who had no idea what he was doing, had no care to even try to fix what was wrong in the classroom. My son was being beat on. My son was being just, it was a year from hell. The stress from the constant phone calls from the school, and the stress from the constantly trying to manage all of the emotions my son was having from being abused in the school, not doing anything to fix it. He wasn't learning anything. He was so busy trying to defend himself from what was happening in the classroom and in the lunchroom and on the playground, that he became very angry, and I could not handle the phone calls every day. The stress from that was, I cannot explain to you the level of stress I was under from the constant phone calls from the school. Or me making constant phone calls back, and me trying to email everyone I could think of to get this handled, get something done to fix what is wrong, to get my son into safety. I knew there is no other option but homeschool at that point. Like, I knew that was best for him. And all of my fears were still there. Am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Can I manage this? Because my job is a big part of my day. Can I manage the homeschool on top of it? But the job actually will become less of a priority because my son has to come first. I only have him for 18 years. I'm going to dedicate that 18 years to him. And honestly, looking back, it's the best decision I've ever made, because there's no school calling me. I'm in charge of everything. I manage what he learns. I don't have a system, and I'm not one of those government people that are like anti-government or like pro-government. I'm completely neutral in those opinions, but I'm starting to see how much of the government programs what is being taught in schools, and they're filtering out things that are really important, and they're filtering out, and they're not teaching life skills. And I know that that's my job, but we can make learning a fun experience throughout the entire day, and it not be so structured and bogged down with rules and regulations and all the bureaucracy that goes on in the schools. Because especially where I live, it is very political, and people are using the school board as a stepping stone to get into politics. And I'm not here for that, because that's not about the kids at all. That's about egos. That's about people trying to get up the ladder, And so for me personally, I've really enjoyed, I think it's the best thing I could have done for him. It keeps him safe. It helps him to love learning instead of hating it. And I really focus on what he enjoys doing. Like, yes, we're still learning history, even though him and I both hate it, because I think it's important to learn from the past. However, him and I both love science. So he's taking a double science curriculum, which is really cool. He loves computers. So he, on his own, without any structure from me, goes on YouTube and watches all kinds of technology videos. He's so advanced with that because he has a very high intelligence level, but he has all the ADHD that complicates things. So he, on his own accord, since he was very, very small, would turn on YouTube videos, but he watches videos like, what is that guy's name? He does tech. He's in the UK. I can't remember his name right now, but he watches videos like that, and he seeks it out on his own because it interests him. He watches on how to reprogram old Ataris and old Nintendos and how to hook them up to the new type TVs. And he came to me when he's 6 years old and asked for an 8-bit DOE adapter. And I'm like, I don't even know what an 8-bit DOE is. What is this? And he had to explain it to me. And then my husband, luckily, knew what it was. And we bought it. And it's an adapter that connects older technology to newer technology. At least that's my understanding of it. So we can focus on what might help create him a better future. science, technology, all the STEM stuff he's interested in. And that's what he wants to learn. So it's fun for him and it's interesting for him. It's not boring. It's not, I have to sit still in a strict classroom. I don't have to be quiet. We can listen to music while we learn. He can get up and move around while he's at the computer. He twitches a lot and like moves because he never stops moving. So he doesn't have to wear shoes, which is a big deal for special needs children. Like a lot of autistic and ADHD kids cannot wear socks and shoes. They don't like it. It feels really weird on their feet. And so, I'll also say I have raised 3 other girls from my son, and the oldest is my niece who I helped raise, and she is undiagnosed, but she believes that she's autistic. I've always known she was neurodivergent, but she's never been diagnosed. She doesn't want to be diagnosed officially right now because she got other things. She's in college. She's about to graduate. A lot of the problems we have with my son, we already had with her, so I have experience in some of this. So the socks and the shoes and the clothes are always uncomfortable, and sitting still in a quiet environment when your mind is racing that much is difficult. And so we can do things to make it more comfortable and fun and easy for him. And we are not on a strict schedule. Some autistic kids absolutely have to be structured start at a specific time, end at a specific time, because getting out of schedule like interrupts everything and it makes them feel like just crazy. My son is more lackadaisical, and he's like, I just want to like go with the flow, and I'm cool with that. As long as it gets done during the day. Doesn't have to be in the morning. It can be in the evening. It can be in the afternoon. We tend to do schooling between the hours of anywhere from 10 to 2. And anywhere in that time span, we do our schooling. And because he's learning at his own pace, and he likes to like get through it as fast as possible while still learning it, and because his brain is so fast and so speedy, class sometimes is like the actual computer work is generally only 2 hours long for the entire day. And then I move in extra things that I think are important, and that all is part of the schooling. So we have workbooks that I purchased on Amazon. Right now we're focusing on a lot of Black history things because I think that's important to learn about. So I have 2 workbooks from Amazon on Black history. Well, one's a reading book and one's a workbook. I have an extra science workbook that we work out of. I print stuff off of websites like, where's that teacher website? I will link things below if you're interested. If you happened upon this and you're thinking about homeschooling, I will put some links below. Some of them are affiliate links. Some of them are just links. Teachers Pay Teachers. That's one of the ones I use. And there's free content on there. There's also paid content on there. And pretty much any subject you want to teach or learn about yourself. There's worksheets. There's activities. There's color sheets you can print off. As part of the classroom, I bought us a laser printer because ink is expensive and ink doesn't seem to last as long as the laser printer's toner cartridges do. And I just print off worksheets when I need them. There's also a lot of things that are for homeschoolers specifically in all kinds of neighborhoods. In my area, I live in the area where the Civil War was a really big deal. So there's a lot of landmarks around us. There's a lot of things to go see, like George Washington's boyhood home is not far from my house. 20-30 minute drive. We have Montpelier is not far. Trying to think. There's the national parks. Shenandoah's national parks are not far from here. And these are all things that are educational days that you just take. You don't even have to do book learning on that day. You just go and have field trips once a week if you want. It's so liberating to just be in charge of it and to be able to change the schedule when you need to. If there's a sick day, like, you ain't gotta call nobody, just stay home and you do the work the next day, or you can make school on a Saturday. And one of the parents was asking questions in one of the groups I follow, and she's really, like I said, it was the single mom. She was really worried because she does work a full-time job, and she's worried because her child is special needs. And I told her, I told her my story a little bit. I said, you can do school in the evenings after you get off work or before work. You can do it 7 days a week. You can extend the year out longer so that your special needs child is not bogged down with 5-6 hours a day at a computer doing boring stuff that's not a beneficial way to learn for special needs children. They need to be able to get up and take a break. They need to be able to walk around if they're feeling overwhelmed or stressed out. If they're feeling overstimulated, which I can't even tell you how hard that is to deal with being overstimulated and trying to focus on something, do something to relax them. Give them a snack. Have them go outside for 10 minutes. Run around. Go ride your bike up and down the street. Go play on the swings in the backyard. Let's watch TV for a few minutes. Let's play a video game real quick. Give them a little time break off, and then we'll come back and we'll do it when we're less stimulated, when we're more relaxed or calmed down. It has been so much easier to manage than I ever thought it would be. It is a very relaxed thing. It's not high stress. I mean, there's days that are stressful because there's days where he's just all over the place. He has a really hard time focusing and concentrating. He's loud and obnoxious sometimes. And there's just some days that are just bad, and he doesn't want to learn on those days. And I'm not going to lie and pretend it's all sunshine and roses and that we don't get into little arguments and that I don't get frustrated with him. And sometimes I lose my cool with him. I'm like, dude, just do this. Let's get it done. Those things do happen. There are days that are horrible and you're like, why am I doing this? But there's a lot of good days too. And like I said in my last video, I have judged people. I didn't think homeschooling was good enough. I thought you had to have the structure of school. I thought, like, what are you going to do with your life after homeschool? Like, do those people even go on to college? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. You have to keep a lot of records, but I mean, I'm good at that. I'm so scared I'm going to screw up. I keep so many records. I write everything down. I bought a record book off Amazon to keep track of his records. I made his first report card, and it was mostly just all good grades. He was just shy of the honor roll. The tests are like the hardest part for him because he skims a lot. He doesn't read things all the way through. So I have to sit with him while he's taking a test, and I have to read it all the way through the question, especially when it's a long question, because he'll read it and assume he knows what the answer is going to be. He does a lot of that. So the testing is kind of difficult because we have to work together through the testing, and then I have to try not to give him the answers or give the answer away, because sometimes as parents we do that, and I'm going to be real honest, we do that. So I have to be careful to let him come to the conclusion on his own, but make sure that he gets all the way through the question and understands how the question is, because sometimes those questions will be tricky and they'll make it seem like they want one answer, but they really want it a little bit different, and you have to really pay attention to the little minute details that they put in the questions. But yeah, if you're thinking about homeschooling your kid and you happen across this video, research. There are websites that teach you or that have links and tells you what is required for where you live for homeschooling. Every state has different rules. I live in Virginia, and we have to kind of keep records, and then they either have to have their work and their grades looked over by an actual teacher, or he has to be tested every year to see where he falls with state standards. And we haven't gotten to that part yet, and that scares me because I just want him to be prepared enough to take that test. And there's deadlines, like things have to be done by August 1st, and you have to let the school district know that it is your intent to homeschool, and then this is the curriculum they're going to learn. So there's rules. Some states are very lackadaisical, and they bare minimum. They don't care, like homeschool and do it by your own standards. There are states that, and I think Virginia is one of them, that has a religious exemption. If you're doing it for religious purposes or something, like you're exempt from some of the rules. I don't know. I don't do it for that reason, so I have no idea about the religious side of it. But research, first step, research what's required in your area. And I will link that website. I'll have to look up because I haven't been on that website in a while. I have all this information saved on my computer. If you decide that that's what's right and you're willing to take those steps to homeschool, the next step is start researching curriculums. You can do books. There's books that's a full curriculum that you just teach your kid out of the book. There are programs like Time for Learning, and there's several other that are out there that I have looked through and researched. Time for Learning was recommended to me most often by my subscribers on my other channel, but also I read some of the reviews, and some of the reviews from the actual parents made me want to use Time for Learning. And also, I joined the Facebook groups before I joined Time for Learning, because Time for Learning, you pay for the service throughout the year. And I joined the group, and I just read through what other people were asking. I read through what other people were saying. I read through questions and answers that were in the groups. And I really looked at videos of people reviewing Time for Learning, and that's how I made my decision, because I did that for a couple of different companies. I chose Time for Learning. I'm not saying that's for everybody. But once you get your curriculum and you settled on that, you figured out what you need to do, and you start the steps to homeschool, you find the curriculum that you're going to use, what you want to teach them, and you plan. You purchase books, there's books from the library you can get, you get the online curriculum, whatever you want to do, plan that. And then I suggest either getting a record book or a planner of some sort and writing down everything that you're doing, so you have records in case there's a time you want to send them back to school or they need to go back to school. Records are very important. If they want to go to college, you have to keep records. You have to keep transcripts of all of it. And all this information is wildly available on the internet. It's on YouTube. There's websites. There's groups on Facebook. There's lots of places where you can find all of the resources you need. I will link as much as I can in the description box. But yeah. And then decide, like, is this right for... The decision should probably be, is this right for my child first? And then, is this right for my family? Because it's going to affect the whole family, because the child's going to be home all the time. And then another concern is socialization. This was my husband's number one concern. Socialization. There are so many homeschool groups. If you're religious, there's church youth groups that the kids can socialize through. If you're not religious, you don't practice religion, that's cool too. There are a lot of homeschool groups all over the world. Find them, search them out in your area, go to the meetings, go to the meetups. There's also a lot of play area places. So if your local mall has like a little playground, take the kid there and let them play for an hour every day or an hour a week or whatever, so that they get the socialization in from being around other kids their age. And they need that. They want that. Have them take classes. Ballet, gymnastics, karate. My kid likes the STEM classes. Lego building classes. There's a place called Snapology that is a chain store, and they let the kids play with Legos, but they teach them how to build it, and it starts the building blocks of engineering. And they have building robots through the Snapology and all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. And then there's play areas like indoor playscapes, or places like Jump Around, or the indoor places with all the bouncing houses and stuff. And there's all kinds of stuff like that helps them to socialize and, get them out there, get them playing with other kids, and get them acclimated to how society behaves, I guess. So that's my opinion. That's my opinion on if homeschool is right for you. Some things to think about and consider. I've only been in this since... I made the decision to homeschool in June of 2024. We started homeschooling teaching in September 2024, so we're only a few months in. I really enjoy it. He enjoys it. It's so much more relaxed and less stressful than putting him in public school. We're both learning, we're both growing, and we're both getting closer. there's a certain bonding happening between the two of us that wasn't necessarily there before because it was so much stress in our house. And it's all kind of calmed down, and it's really nice having that time with just him. It's really nice. And with that, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them, and I'll try to put as many links as I can in the description box below this video. But yeah, I hope if you're thinking about homeschooling, this has helped you in some way. Bye, guys.